Once upon a time, there was a man who went around selling small rat traps. He made them himself, from the material he got by begging. But even so, the business was not profitable. So, he had to do begging and small thefts to survive. His clothes were torn, his cheeks were sunken, and hunger shone in his eyes. No one can imagine how sad life is to such a wanderer. But one day, the man fell into a thought which seemed him entertaining. He was thinking of his rat traps, when suddenly, he was struck by an idea.
The whole world, with its lands and seas, cities and villages, is nothing but a rat trap. It has existed just to set baits for people.
Bait means food placed on a hook to catch an animal.
The world offers riches and joys, shelter and food, heat and clothing, exactly as a rat trap offers cheese. As soon as anyone becomes tempted to touch the bait, the rat trap closes onto him, and everything comes to an end.
The world had, of course, never been kind to him. So it gave him unusual joy to think bad of the world. It became his pastime, while walking, to think of people he knew who had been caught in dangerous trap, and of others who were still circling around the bait. One dark evening, when he was wandering along the road, he saw a little gray cottage. He knocked on the door to ask shelter, and he was welcomed. An old man, with a wife or child, was happy to get someone to talk to. He put the oatmeal on the fire and gave him food. Then, he cut such a big slice from his tobacco roll that it was enough for both of them. Finally, he took an old pack of cards and played Majolis with his guest until bedtime.
In my days of prosperity, I had been a crofter at Ramsio Ironworks.
A crofter is one who rents a farm.
Now that I am no longer able to do day labor, it is my cow which support me. Yes, that bossy is extraordinary. She can give milk every day, and last month, I had received all of 30 kroner of my payment.
The old man got up and went to the window, took down a leather pouch, which was hanging on a nail in the window frame. From the pouch, he took out 3 bills, which were of 10 kroner each. It was unbelievable for the stranger that the old man showed his payment to him, and the place where he had kept it. The next day, both got up. The crofter was in a hurry to milk his cow.
I should not stay on the bed when the head of the house has gotten up.
They left the cottage at the same time. The crofter locked the door and put the key in his pocket.
Goodbye, and thank you.
But half an hour later, the Rattrap peddler returned and stood against the door. Rattrap peddler means Rattrap seller. He didn't try to get in. He only went to the window, smashed its pane, took out the pouch with 30 kroner. He took the money and placed it into his own pocket. Then, he hung the leather pouch back in its place and went away.
To avoid being noticed, I must not go through the road. I will go into the woods.
When he went into the forest, during the first hours, it was easy. Later in the day, it became worse, as it was a big and confusing forest. He tried to walk in only one direction, but the paths twisted back and forth, strangely. He walked and walked, without coming to the end of the wood, and realized,
oh, I had only been walking around, in the same part of the forest.
He recalled his thoughts about the world and the rat trap.
Now my own turn has come. I had let myself fooled by a bait, and now I'm caught.
The whole forest closed in upon him, like an impenetrable prison, from which he could never escape. It was late in December. Darkness was already descending over the forest. This increased the danger, and also his gloom and despair. Gloom means sadness. Despair means hopelessness. Finally, he saw no way out, and sank down on the ground, tired to death, thinking that his last moment has come. But just as he laid his head on the ground, he heard a sound, a regular thumping.
Those are the hammer strokes from an iron mill. There must be some people nearby.
He used all his strength and staggered in the direction of the sound. The Ramsio Ironworks were a large plant with smelter, rolling mill, and forge. Forge means a blacksmith's workshop. During one evening, just before Christmas, the master blacksmith and his helper sat in the dark forge near the furnace, waiting for the pig iron, which was put on in fire, to be ready to put an anvil. Pig iron means raw iron. Anvil means an iron block. Every now and then, one of them got up to stir the pig iron, returning in a few minutes. He wore only a long shirt and a pair of wooden shoes. All the time, there were many sounds in the forge. It was probably because of that sound that the master blacksmith did not notice that the Rattrap peddler had opened the gate and entered the forge. He was noticed only when he stood close to the furnace. It was a usual thing that poor vagabonds, without any shelter, get attracted to the forge to get warmth of the fire. Vagabond means wanderer.
Can I stay here for a night?
In those days, the Ramsio iron mill was owned by a very famous iron master who liked to ship out good iron to the market. He came into the forge on one of his nightly rounds of inspection. He looked at the peddler. He walked close to him and looked him very carefully.
But of course it is you, Milsaloff. How do you look?
I have never seen this man before, and don't even know his name. But if he has mistaken me as his old acquaintance...
Acquaintance means known person.
Then perhaps he might give me a couple of kroner. Yes. God knows things have gone downhill with me.
You should not have resigned from the regiment. That was the mistake. If I had been in the service at that time, it would not have happened. Well, now of course, you will come home with me.
The Iron Master thought he was Captain Nils Olaf von Stahel, as he could not see his face clearly because of darkness and his beard. The peddler didn't want to go. If he goes, and the Iron Master comes to know that he was not his acquaintance, it would be like going into a lion's den.
No, I couldn't think of it.
I think he is ashamed because of his miserable clothing. Please don't think that I have such a fine home that you cannot show yourself there. Elizabeth is dead, as you may already have heard. My boys are in foreign. There is no one at home except my oldest daughter and myself. We were just saying that it was too bad we didn't have company for Christmas. Now come along with me and help us make the Christmas food disappear a little faster.
No.
Please.
No.
Please.
No.
It looks as though Captain von Stahl preferred to stay with you tonight, Stjernstrom. I'm going.
Why did both of them laugh when he was going? Because the Iron Master had planned to go and send his daughter, Edla, to pursue the vagabond, to come home. He was sure that Edla will be successful in pursuing him. Some half an hour later, she came, with her valet, who was carrying a big fur coat. Valet means servant.
My name is Edla Wilmanson. My father came home and said that you wanted to sleep here in the forge, and then I asked permission to come and bring you home to us. I am so sorry, Captain, that you are having such a hard time. Either he has stolen something, or else he has escaped from jail. You may be sure, Captain, that you will be allowed to leave us. Only please stay with us over Christmas Eve.
It would never have occurred to me that you would bother me yourself, miss. I will come.
He accepted the fur coat, which the girl's valet gave him. In the carriage, he thought.
Why the devil did I take that fellow's money? Now I am sitting in the tramp, and will never get out of it.
The next day was Christmas Eve. When the Iron Master came into the dining room for breakfast, he thought of his old comrade. Comrade means companion.
First of all, we must see that he gets a little flesh on his bones. And then, we must see that he gets something else to do than to run around the country selling Rattraps.
It is strange that things have gone downhill with him, as badly as that. Last night, I didn't think there was anything about him to show that he had once been an educated man.
You must have patience, my little girl. As soon as he gets clean and dressed up, you will see something different. The tramp manners will fall away from him, with his tramp clothes.
Tramp means wanderer. Just as he said, the door opened, and the stranger entered. Yes, now he was truly cleaned. The valet had bathed him, cut his hair, and shaved him. He wore clothes of the Iron Master. He wore a white shirt and whole shoes. Now, the Iron Master understood that when he had seen the man, he had made a mistake.
What does this mean?
It's not my fault, sir. I didn't pretend to be anything but a poor trader. I pleaded and begged to be allowed to stay in the forge, but no harm has been done. I can put my rags again and go away.
Well, it was not quite honest, either. You must admit that. And I should not be surprised if the sheriff would like to have something to say in this matter.
Sheriff means policeman.
Now, I am going to tell you, Mr. Iron Master, how things are. This whole world is nothing but a rat trap. All the good things that are offered to you are nothing but cheese rinds, set out to drag a poor fellow into trouble. And if the sheriff comes and locks me up for this, then you, Mr. Iron Master, must remember that a day may come when you yourself may want to get a big piece of pork, and then you will get caught in the trap.
That was not so badly said, my good fellow. Perhaps we should let the sheriff alone on Christmas Eve. But now, get out of here, as fast as you can.
But just as the man was opening the door, Edla went and closed the door.
I think he ought to stay with us today. I don't want him to go.
What in the world are you doing?
In the morning, she had felt so happy when she thought how home-like she was going to make things for the poor hungry man. She could not leave from the idea.
I am thinking of the stranger here. He walks and walks the whole year long, and there is probably not a single place in the whole country where he is welcome. Wherever he turns, he is chased away. I should like to have him enjoy a day of peace here, just one. It was all a mistake, of course. Anyway, I don't think we should chase away a human being whom we have asked to come here.
You do preach worse than a priest. I only hope you will not regret this.
Now sit down and eat.
After that, the stranger slept on the sofa. At noon, they woke him up so that he could get the Christmas lunch. But after that, he slept again. It seemed as though he had not been able to sleep in peace for many years. In the evening, the Christmas tree was lighted. They woke him up again, and he stood for a while in the drawing room, blinking his eyes because of the candlelight. Then he again went to sleep. 2 hours later, they woke him up once more. He had to eat the Christmas fish and porridge. When they got up from the table, he went around to each one present there, and said thank you and good night. When he came to the young girl,
It was my father's desire that the suit you are wearing is a Christmas present. You don't have to return it. And if you want to spend the next Christmas Eve in a place where you can rest in peace, you will be welcomed back again.
the next morning, the Iron Master and his daughter went up early to go to the church. Their guest was still asleep, so they didn't disturb him. At church, they came to know that one of the old crofters of the ironworks had been robbed by a man who went around selling rattraps. At about 10 o'clock, when they drove back to home, Edla's face was more disappointed than usual.
Yes, that was a fine fellow you let into the house. I only wonder how many silver spoons are left in the cupboard by this time.
The carriage had hardly stopped when the Iron Master asked the valet,
Is the man still there? I've heard at the church that he is a thief.
He has gone, sir. But he has not taken anything with him at all. In fact, he has left behind a little package, to be accepted by Miss Wilmanson, as a Christmas present.
The girl opened the package. She gave a little cry of joy. She found a small rattrap, and in it lay 3 wrinkled, 10-kroner bills. There was also a letter, written in large, rough characters.
Honored and noble miss, since you have been so nice to me all day long, as if I was a captain, I want to be nice to you in return, as if I was a real captain, as I do not want you to be embarrassed at this Christmas Eve by a thief, but you can give back the money to the old man on the roadside, who has the money pouch hanging on the window frame, as a bait for poor wanderers. The rat trap is a Christmas present from a rat, who have been caught in this world's rat trap if he had not been raised to captain, because in that way, he got power to clear himself. Written with friendship and high regard. Captain Fonstar.